What's up, guys? Today is the 25th of September, and I am so glad that you have come to join me on my Bible challenge. Basically, we're reading 2 to 4 chapters of the Bible every single day for the next year, and probably for a lot longer because I've been doing this for many years. And I am inviting you to join me with my daily Bible readings. So something that I do anyway. I'm going to read out loud just the chapters that pertain to that day. And today's daily reading is Daniel chapter 5 to Daniel chapter 6. And I'm following the faithspace.com kind of loosely. We're a little bit behind on the dates because really the 25th, we're supposed to be in Hosea 4 to 9. So I think I'll do some readings that are catch-up ones just so that it's following this plan. But basically, this is just an absolutely wonderful way to get rooted in the Bible. I know right now there is a lot of people, because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, who are coming to the Lord, who are finding out about Christ, or they're becoming Christians for the first time. And, I just want to share a way that I've been able to consistently follow the Lord for over 2.5 decades. And it really has been the Bible. I'm reading the New International Version. I know it's not the most literal version, but I've just used this Bible for like over 20 years, and I'm going to continue to do so. I do cross-reference other Bible versions, but I just find that the NIV is just very easy to digest, especially if this is like a daily reading Bible. The way that I read it is like a book. I just read it front to back. And, one thing that I've learned about developing a habit of Bible reading is it doesn't matter how imperfect you are at the beginning. In fact, start imperfectly. Start just reading 5 minutes, 10 minutes every couple of days, every few days. Like your body and your mind take time to develop a habit. And so when I first started, I did this very imperfectly. And over time, it just became more and more part of my routine until it finally became something that I do every day. I tried to read in the morning, but being a mom, especially pregnant, it's a little bit hard to do this consistently at the same time. I normally read my Bible around 7 a.m., but today, as you can see, it's already past noon, and it's because I had a doctor's appointment this morning, so I had to rush out the door, and I'm finally back home, and I can read now. So, like I said, we're going to read together. I'm going to read out loud, and there's going to be some words I don't pronounce properly, so please correct me, because I do need some help sometimes, and I'm a little bit out of breath because I'm pregnant. But this is such a cool challenge because I just want to be able to create a community where we can do this together, because when you are a Christian, you really need to have a family. And I know a lot of you guys may not have family close by. You may not even have close friends. Maybe you don't even have a friend. That was me a lot of for a few years of my life. And it was very lonely. So I want to be able to just have a place where you can come and read the Bible, seek God. And if you have any prayer requests, please put them in the comments down below. I think it's really important that if you are in a community that we pray for each other and lift each other up, especially in hard times, in good times too, but especially in hard times. And if you're curious about where my accent's from, it's from New Zealand. I was raised there until I was about 16, and then I moved to America, and I'm currently in Texas. So let's go ahead and start reading. Daniel chapter 5, the writing on the wall. King Nebuchadnezzar gave a great banquet for 1,000 of his nobles and drank wine with them. While Nebuchadnezzar was drinking his wine, he gave orders to bring in the gold and silver goblets that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken from the temple in Jerusalem, so that the king and his nobles, his wife and his concubines might drink from them. So they brought in the gold goblets that had been taken from the temple of God in Jerusalem. And the king and his nobles and his wives and his concubines drank from them. As they drank the wine, they praised the gods of gold and silver, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Suddenly, the fingers of a human hand appeared and wrote on the plaster of the wall near the lampstand in the royal palace. The king watched the hand as it wrote. His face turned pale, and he was so frightened that his knees knocked together and his legs gave way. The king called out for the enchanters, astrologers, and diviners to be brought, and said to those wise men of Babylon, "Whoever reads this writing and tells me what it means will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around his neck. And he will be made the highest ruler in the kingdom." Then all the king's wise men came in, but they could not read the writing or tell the king what it meant. So King Nebuchadnezzar became even more terrified, and his face grew more pale. His nobles were baffled. The queen, hearing the voices of the king and his nobles, came into the banquet hall. "O king, live forever," she said. "Don't be alarmed. Don't look so pale. There is a man in your kingdom who has the spirit of the holy gods in him. In the time of your father, he was found to have insight and intelligence and wisdom like that of the gods. King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, I say, appointed him chief of the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and diviners. This man, Daniel, whom the king called Belshazzar, was found to have keen mind and knowledge and understanding, and also the ability to interpret dreams, explain riddles, and solve difficult problems. Call for Daniel. He will tell you what the writing means." So Daniel was brought before the king, and the king said to him, "Are you Daniel, one of the exiles my father the king brought from Judah? I've heard that the spirit of the gods is in you, and that you have insight, intelligence, and outstanding wisdom. The wise men and enchanters were brought before me to read this writing and tell me what it means, but they could not explain it. Now I have heard that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. If you can read this writing and tell me what it means, you will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around your neck, and you will be made the third highest ruler in the kingdom." Then Daniel answered the king, "You may keep your gifts for yourself and give your rewards to someone else. Nevertheless, I will read the writing for the king and tell him what it means. O king, the most high God gave you your father Nebuchadnezzar sovereignty and greatness and glory and splendor because of the high position he gave him. All the peoples and the nations and the men of every language dreaded and feared him. Those the king wanted to put to death, he put to death. Those he wanted to spare, he spared. Those he wanted to promote, he promoted. And those he wanted to humble, he humbled. But when his heart became arrogant and hardened with pride, he was deposed from his royal throne and stripped of his glory. He was driven away from people and given the mind of an animal. He lived with the wild donkeys and ate grass like cattle, and his body was drenched with the dew of heaven, until he acknowledged that the Most High God is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and sets over them anyone he wishes. But you, his son, O Belshazzar, have not humbled yourself, though you knew all this. Instead, you have set yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You had the goblets from his temple brought to you. You and your nobles, your wives and your concubines drank wine from them. You praised the gods of silver and gold, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which cannot see or hear or understand. But you did not honor the God who holds in his hand your life and all your ways. Therefore, he sent the hand that wrote the inscription. This is the inscription that was written: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin. This is what the words mean. Many. God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel. You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Perez. I think that's what it's pronounced. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then at Belshazzar's command, Daniel was clothed in purple, and a gold chain was placed around his neck, and he was proclaimed the third highest ruler in the kingdom. That very night, Belshazzar, king of the Babylonians, was slain, and Darius the Mede, I don't know how to pronounce that, took over the kingdom at the age of 62. Chapter 6. Daniel in the Den of Lions. It pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of them whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps of his exceptional qualities, or by his exceptional qualities, that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God." So the administrators and the satraps went as a group to the king and said, "O King Darius, live forever. The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, and advisors and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or man during the next 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, O king, issue the decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the laws of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repelled." So King Darius put the decree in writing. Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. "Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days anyone who prays to any god or man except to you, O king, would be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered, "The decree stands in accordance with the laws of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repealed." Then they said to the king, "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the decree that you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went as a group to the king and said to him, "Remember, O king, that according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed." So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. And the king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king." The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to all the peoples, nations, and men of every language throughout the land, "May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and saves He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So that is the reading for today. I love Daniel. And my prayer is that we can have the courage to stand up against laws and decrees and edicts that don't align with God and the scriptures, and that we, just like Daniel, 3 times a day, go on our knees and pray. And I think now is a time when a lot of Christians are being persecuted around the world, and we're seeing a lot of violence, especially like yesterday in Dallas, the shootings with the detainees of the ICE facility in downtown Dallas, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live. And it's kind of scary, guys. Like, it's scary to think, that being a Christian can lead to this much persecution just because people don't agree with our way of life. They're getting very militant and violent towards us. So I just pray, for safety for all of us, that we have the courage to stand up like Daniel, and that we do not back down with what we believe, with our values, our love of country, of our family, and for God. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will be back tomorrow and every day during this Bible challenge, hopefully every day. Basically, as long as I can, until I give birth, and then there may be some interruptions, but I will presume the Bible reading as I have for many years. So hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll be back tomorrow.